Recently on Facebook, a friend of mine recommended a barbecue place that's not an incredibly long distance from here. And I love a good brisket. And you don't get them in this part of the world very often. So I will go out of my way to at least try a place. So I went up at lunch today to the Naked Barbecue, and I was very distressed at having to take my clothes off to get food, but it's very messy. No. Actually, that's not why it's called the Naked Barbecue, which is fortunate considering the clientele. It is served without sauce, hence the reason naked. They have sauce, but the meat itself is served sort of, I guess you could say, plain. And then it's served, they've got a dry rub that you can add more to. And they have a number of barbecue sauces. They have a house sauce, sweet and spicy, and then they've got a number of other styles. There's different barbecue styles in different parts of the country. I don't like the mustard kind, for example. They had those there as well. But I just went with their house spicy and had this brisket, one meat brisket platter. So the meal is $11 for the platter, not including the drink there. And it comes with that incredibly tiny little corn muffin and the brisket you see, plus I had beans and macaroni and cheese. So we'll talk about the sides first. The macaroni and cheese was passable, and however, I think it was the bottom of the barrel, and it was a little bit cold, which was not a good start. The beans themselves were unremarkable. They were a little undercooked by, some people like them a little less, some people like a little more, but they kind of had that, I want to say, chalky texture that beans get if they haven't been cooked enough. And then combine that with the fact that they were just okay in their preparation. Again, I wasn't crazy about it. The corn muffin was more of a savory muffin instead of a sweet one, which is probably good because the barbecue sauce, even the spicy barbecue sauce, was very, very sweet. Now, I tried the brisket first with the rub, and it was excellent. The rub is very good. The brisket was incredibly tender, and it was, I couldn't fault it. I can't say it was the best I've ever had. I'm not even sure I could identify the best I've ever had, but it was probably in Kansas City, or I'm sure it was in Kansas City. But it was without fault. Very tasty, very tender, excellent. Then I tried the sauce on it, and the sauce was also very good. Very sweet, but this was very tangy and spicy. So I was very happy with that. The owner comes around and checks with people and chats with them, and he somehow got the mistaken impression I'm from Kansas City, which I am not, but I do go there, and when I go there, I want to have barbecue. Every time, all the time, that's what I want when I go to Kansas City. You don't go to Kansas City for pizza. You don't go to Kansas City for Italian food. You go to Kansas City for slabs of dead cow, beautifully prepared in barbecue sauce. Thank you, Kansas City. In any case, because I appreciated it and he thought I was from Kansas City, really, he also came out with the hidden specialty of the house. That's the burnt ends. And that's a special preparation of brisket that's done where I'm not going to go in. Sure, I know exactly what the details are, but they are basically the ends of the slices, the fatty end of the slice of the brisket, cooked more, and I think there's something else done with them anyway. They apparently serve those. If you know it, they aren't on the menu, and they only have a limited supply, and he brought a few out and was giving them to a couple of people, including myself. And I actually am not a huge burnt ends fan, but I know some people really love that stuff. And they were good. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. But I did prefer the brisket standard. So I would definitely say that this was a very good recommendation, and I would absolutely go there again. I cannot think of a better barbecue place in Phoenix. Now, here's a little bit of the problem. So if you look at this, you might not be able to see the barbecue shop because you're not looking for that enormous billboard that's along Bell Road, which is the only sign that you can see where it is. Now, this is if you're going westbound on Bell Road near 26th Avenue. The restaurant itself is right there behind that Lamar's Donuts. It's a terrible location. But if you get there and you find it, you're golden. There, as far as I can tell, there's no sign coming from the east direction, and you have to go around and U-turn to get there. So, anyway, Naked Barbecue, I suggest you give it a try if you're in the Phoenix area up near Bell Road and I-17. And incidentally, I stopped in at the Lamar's Donuts, which oddly enough is also a Kansas or Kansas City chain of donuts. It's the only one in Arizona. And I've never had their donuts. I got a dozen, and they are good. Good donuts. I like those donuts. Very big. Big donuts compared to all the other brands. They stuffing out the box. I'm still going through the videotapes, and I have found some real gems. And I have found a lot of the missing and lost Fusion Patrol footage. Some of it definitely is stuff that was on the camcorder that went bad and did get transferred over. So thank goodness for the old workflow. It used to be, in the early days of the show, I would shoot it on high 8mm, and then I would have to transfer it to an SVHS tape, which was a loss in quality, but then I could take the SVHS tape into the Cox Cable Studios and I could use their editing equipment. They didn't have any 8mm. It had to be SVHS. So there was no other option. Either that or I had to use their incredibly lousy cameras, which you could only check out for a weekend per month, and it just was never enough time. So this workflow worked for us, but what it means is that in some cases, the tapes that had been used with the older camera were transferred to SVHS, and I still have the original 8mm tapes, but they're useless to me because I can't play them back. But I've also got some of these copies, which is as good as it gets. It's still better than what went out over the air because it's at least one generation newer. So I'm happy with that. I found some good stuff, which I'll probably share some of it with you on Throwback Thursday, which could be tomorrow. In the meantime, I'm going to keep working my way through it. I think that's going to be pretty much it for tonight. I might show you a couple of shots from the Kids Science Fair. Today we're about to head down there in an hour or 3 and see how well James and Michelle did on their science fair projects. Michelle's got a lot to live up to. She's come in 3rd place for the last 3 years, which you could say is not good, but then on the other hand, she's come in 3rd place 3 years in a row. So this year she worked with a partner, so you know how those work. Teamwork doesn't always produce a better result, so we'll see how that goes. And this is James's first science fair project. I already know he got a 98 out of 100 for his score. The question is, did he win anything in the science fair? Frankly, every year I go down to the science fair and I grieve for the future of humanity because some of these are just so not uninspired. That's not the right word. They're just so misguided that I look for the days when they used to make the volcanoes out of baking soda because they were better than some of these things. We're back from the science fair. Well, actually, we've been back from the science fair for quite a while. Had dinner and put the kids to bed, and I'm not feeling very well, actually. I don't know. Hard to describe. Just sort of stomach. Ugh. I don't think it's things I ate. I think it's putting things in a stomach that was slightly... it doesn't really matter. The important reason I'm back is because science fair results. This is Michelle's 4th year at the science fair, and I am sorry to report that she didn't win a prize this year. I think I may have mentioned it. It was a team effort, and those are much harder. And it's a shame, but she didn't get it. However, this was James's first year, and he took 1st place. So bravo to James, and he did a great job. And I once again don't understand how they judge these things, but I go up and down the aisle and look at these. I don't like the science fair. There's so many of the ones that you just look at and you go, well, that's the duh experiment. Because, they're not discovering anything new, and they're not. I suppose it's hard to expect them to discover something amazing from a science fair experiment, but it really is kind of disheartening at how facile and simple most of them are. There was this similar trends every year. This year there was a very ridiculous trend over and over again. We would see, well, we tried treating this with this, and we tried treating these plants with this, and we tried doing these plants to see if this would be better. And the theme of it was, my hypothesis is, the plant that's, for example, the plant that was treated with water every day will do better than the plant that is treated with soda. Now, okay, fine, as a hypothesis, I suppose, and they're also supposed to have a reason that they think that. And in every case, the reason was because sugar is bad for you. Now, obviously, these are kids, and their parents have been telling them, too much sugar, bad for you, but do they not realize sugar is the basic food thing that you're trying to get? I mean, there's a reason we like sugar. It's because it's energy concentrated, and so the plants are going to do better with sugar. Now, they didn't always do better with soda pop, but they didn't control for the variables here. It's like, maybe it's not the sugar that caused it to fail. Maybe it's the acetic acid or the carbonation and the higher, there's any number of things that it could be that are in soda as opposed to water. The experiment should have been water versus sugar water versus salt water versus whatever, but by choosing something as complicated as soda pop, it's not going to work. Anyhow, the kid who I think deserved to win was the kid whose hypothesis was, I think Orville Redenbacher kettle corn will taste better than other brands of kettle corn because it's a well-known brand. Now, all right, that's a lame hypothesis. I'm not going to make any excuses for it. But what it also is it's a brilliant way for him to get his mom to buy him 3 bags of popcorn, of which he only has to eat, I think, 9 kernels from each bag. So they had a taste test, 3 different kinds of kettle corn, and they would have 3 people, and each person would try 3 kernels with water in between them, and then decide which was the best. Now, the result is, by the way, in case you're remotely interested, was not Orville Redenbacher. It was Prime Time. Never heard of it before. It's probably a Walmart brand. I don't know. But the point is that he got all this popcorn, and for his experiment, so to me, that's a win. I think next year, one or the other of the kids are definitely doing an experiment with pizza. Anyway, tomorrow's coming. Hope it's warmer than today. This morning, I had to put on a light jacket when I had to go outside for a little bit. That's just not acceptable in February. Not acceptable at all. Anyway, I would remind you to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.